This is Melissa Clark from the blog thewaygodintended.com, and I just wanted to do a slight introduction. So this is not exactly my first video, but I just wanted to go ahead and give an introduction about who we are and what it is we're doing with our lifestyle, which is basically kind of what this is all about for us that we're going to be sharing as a resource. I started the blog sometime probably after I had my first baby, and I sort of started it as a resource that I wanted to be able to share things that I learned about birthing naturally and holistically, and having a healthy lifestyle and pregnancy, and using herbs and things as alternative medicine rather than Western medicine and all the things that sort of go along with that. So that's sort of about my blog. That is www.thewaygodintended.com. That's the name of my blog site. That's the link. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about sort of our family. So my husband and I, Ken, and I have been married for almost 11 years. At the end of this month, it'll be 11 years, and we've got 4 kids. So my oldest is 8, running around doing, wanting to do crafts and things. So she's sort of in and out in the background. She's 8. I also have a little boy that will be turning 7 at the end of the month. He is 16 months younger than his oldest sister. And then we have a 4.5-year-old, and she's adorable and loves Frozen. And we have an almost 2-year-old who is becoming very vocal. So we have a family of 6, and that's our main goal in our lifestyle, is to try to be holistic, and that leads into the homesteading part of it, actually. My husband and I didn't really have that as a goal setting out in our marriage. We actually have very similar ideas of lifestyle choices, but we didn't really know what it was going to look like. We just sort of assumed, the house, the job, the vehicles, the kids, and I think the only thing that we really truly understood that we wanted to do was homeschooling, which we are currently doing. That's kind of what the beginning of our marriage looked like. Second year in, we sort of looked at prices at the grocery store and things like that, and we're like, oh my word, this is ridiculous. So when Ken and I got married, he already had a house that had 1/3 of an acre, and we're like, why don't we try to grow some food? Because this organic stuff is super expensive at the store. And why don't we have some hens? I mean, we have all this land. So that's how we sort of got started. And after that, it was just a matter of kind of going from there and doing a lot more research and delving into what all of it meant. And I just wanted to briefly talk about what homesteading is. Wikipedia actually calls it a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. So you're basically agricultural, livestock. You're growing your own food, whether that's fruits and vegetables, or your livestock, like your meat and your eggs and your dairy and things like that come. So you have the animals that you're doing that with. You're preserving all of that. You're canning it all. You're doing all those sorts of things so you can go ahead and have all of that on hand. You're not having to go to the grocery store for any of that, basically. So it also involves cooking from scratch, making a lot of your own, food from scratch. So you're not going and buying prepared things at the store. You're doing all of that yourself. You're saving time and money by not having to go and drive to get it. And it's much, much healthier mostly than what you're buying at the stores, for the most part. It also can involve making your own textiles, like having the animals to grow for your wool or your long hair rabbits, or anything you're getting fiber from that you can make your own yarn with and actually do your own crocheting and knitting. Sewing your own clothes. There's just a lot of lifestyle skills that you can do that lend themselves to actually calling homesteading. The one thing that we've done, pretty much as far as I can recall, to save money mostly, is how we started doing it, was making yogurt. So we started trying to grow our own fruits and vegetables. We got some hens, had some eggs, and then we are trying, we're making our own bread from scratch. We're making our own yogurt because my husband eats it just about every day, and it's really good for you. So, these are all things that we sort of started with, and it's just something we really were more interested in pursuing. So we had about 4 or 5 flocks. I know we had at least 4. I think we had 5. And that's been pretty much since the second year of our marriage. So about 9 years worth of experience, roughly. And we don't have any here because we're renting. So we had to get rid of all of that before we moved to Maryland. And it was just really fun. And the 3rd flock in or so, our kids started interacting with them and they became Miranda's babies. So she was able to go and collect their eggs and feed them and spend time with them. And she would just be out there with them and got lots of outside time with them, which was really good for her. And they sort of, they became pets. We also had the time frame looking at, okay, well, this house, it's getting kind of small for us. So with the idea of, our house only had about 3 bedrooms at the time, and we're still in 3 bedrooms now. Really ready for a new house, guys. Few bedrooms, we sort of outgrew that with our, we had the 2 girls and then we had our boy, so we were able to sort of manage. But then when we had our last daughter, our 4th one, about 2 years ago, it was very obvious that we were sort of bursting at the seams. And we didn't have like a dedicated school space. We sort of had to do it in the living room around stuff and things like that. So it was a bit of a distraction. It felt like a mishmash of things. And we sort of felt like God was moving us out of Florida for a number of different reasons. And we said, okay, well, let's go. And even before we were going to move out of Florida, we were deciding to possibly either try to add on to the house and expand it, or we were going to just find a new house, with more bedrooms, more space, try to have a dedicated school area, and have land so we could pursue our homesteading. And that didn't happen in Florida. So that's currently what we're doing now. So the next video will probably be more along the lines of like our big dream, what we want to do, the things we're looking for in a future homestead, and all of sort of the grand plans we have. So that'll be next time. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else we wanted to say in this particular one about our history. Oh, I can give a slight rundown about sort of the fruits and vegetables we were trying to do. The gardening was not nearly as successful as our egg-laying hens. I mean, we did have some ups and downs with the hens, and they're, for the most part, pretty easy to take care of. We're pros. They're one of the absolute easiest homesteading livestock you could ever do. So if you're thinking about it, possibly getting into homesteading, start with chickens. So easy, guys. Seriously. I mean, there are some things you need to remember about, like keeping them clean and keeping their coop clean and feeding them and watering them regularly and sort of keeping an eye out of things, that can cause diseases and things like that. But for the most part, they're fairly easy to deal with. And they're great at eating leftovers. Seriously. I mean, besides a couple things you shouldn't feed them. But for the most part, they're pretty easy. We did try to do vegetables, and we had some success with like some zucchini and some peas. And there was just way more than I could ever name on this video about all the things we tried to grow. But those were probably our 2 most successful things. I mean, we tried all kinds of stuff, but most of the time it never seemed like we had enough of anything to sort of actually harvest and eat with a meal, except for our zucchini and our peas. So most of the vegetables were bomb. We did plant some trees. We had about 4 different citrus, lemon, lime, tangerine, and orange, which we got pretty good from, some good produce from that. We had a mango tree that we got mangoes from for a couple of years. We tried to do an avocado. It sort of got snapped in the middle, so it sort of died. Papaya got fruit flies. They specifically like that fruit for their larvae. So we didn't really get anything from that. We had an olive tree. It never flowered or produced any fruit while we were there. And we also had some fig. And we got some produce from the fig as well. We actually got a couple crops from that, and we were able to freeze those and use those. I said mango. Oh. I said mango. We had a couple apple trees. We got tiny little red apples from those, like maybe once. They were supposed to be Florida hardy, like bred to be in Florida with a lot less chill hours than, a lot of these northern states and the breeds that work in those areas. We had a peach tree. It died. It never grew. It was in a waterlogged spot. We were not aware at the time. Even though we lived there for a number of years, we didn't notice that particular spot did not like to drain. So that one sort of died. We had a macadamia nut, but I don't think we were there long enough after we planted it to really get anything. So we left before it really had a chance to put anything out. Let's see if I forgot anything. Oh, and we put a mulberry tree in the chicken area. Very good crop to give your chickens. It's very balanced. Got some protein in there to cut down on feed costs. But we stole some of those mulberries because they're delicious. So our future one, we're definitely going to be adding a tree for us as well as our chickens, which again, I'll talk about that in the next video. So that was our fruit trees. Most of those bombed. The only thing we ever really got anything from was the mango, and we didn't even get that the whole time we were there. And the figs. The figs were probably our best fruit tree. So that's our history of our homesteading. I'm sure there's some other things that we might have actually cooked or baked from scratch that, counts sort of as homesteading, but that's the basic gist of it. And thanks for watching. And again, my website is thewaygodintended.com. So you can go over there and check out. I've got a post on there about our hens, and I've got a post on our homeschooling and just some basic stuff. And I'm hoping to expand that to include homesteading, homeschooling, and all of our homey stuff, homeopathic living, holistic living. Seems to all kind of go together. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.